All right, this will be the last attempt. If there's another problem, it's just not my day. So definitely go and look at the previous streams that we've had. But let's give it one more shot to get signed in. Oh, look at that. Looks like it worked this time. All right, so here you see our dashboard. It's just giving you a snapshot of what your system is like at this time. Now, if it's your first time logging in, you actually get taken to your account page, which you can get to by clicking on your name. So this is where you would change your own email address or password, for example. You change your time zone. The account settings here on the left, this is where you would change the account level time zone. Now, on your accounts, you have a billing section over here to the left under where it would say user. That's where you would update your credit card information. You could see your plan, your invoices, etc. And that first time logging in, the Dash Wizard has a pop-up telling you these things. When you're done, go ahead and click on the close box here to the right, and you'll be back here on the dashboard. You'll have some other icons up here along the top. So some of you will have a D&D toggle here for Do Not Disturb. If it's white, that means it's enabled. I don't have it on my user here because I'm also in an ACD queue, and the combination of a Do Not Disturb toggle and ACD queues does not mix. Got the little help icon here, right? Question mark. Chat with us opens a chat window. The online store goes to store.virtualpbx.com. The Learn More takes you to the Dash support pages. Little 3 horizontal line or hamburger icon. This takes you to other features of Dash. We're going to be here in the dashboard. And then you have the logout icon. On the left, you've got some core features of Dash. In the middle here, total users. These are all the people on your account. These are people making and receiving calls. If you're on a per user plan, right, each additional user you add increases your bill. Then we got my total devices. I have 34 different devices. First up is cell phone, right? Pretty self-explanatory. Then I have a web phone. This is a browser-based soft phone application. So you can use Chrome or Firefox to make and receive calls using your internet connection, assuming you've added a web phone device to your user. And this is only going to work on the computer versions of those browsers, right? So not the mobile versions. Soft phone, right? Software application uses your internet connection to make and receive calls. This would be something for, say you got software from Counterpath, or you're using the VirtualPBX soft phone. SIP phone, this is a physical VoIP phone, sits on a desk. You can have a handset to dial out. And then we have a landline, pretty self-explanatory. Unregistered devices, I have 13. That means Dash has detected that 13 of my VoIP devices, right? So the soft phones, web phones, or the SIP phones are not connected or not registered with Dash, right? So if they're not registered, we can't send calls to those devices. Right, then we got total, oh, and the reason that phones could be unregistered could be like someone hasn't logged into their soft phone, right? It could be more complicated, like a router setting, or something more major, like the internet service providers having an issue. All right, total numbers, I have 31 phone numbers on the account. Your plan includes anywhere from 2 to 15 phone numbers as part of your monthly plan price. If you go over that allotment, there will be an overage charge per phone number per month. You want to double check with our account services team. They can verify how many numbers are included, as well as what that overage would be if you're over. Then we got assigned numbers. That means that's a number in use, right? So it goes someplace. Someone can dial it and get to a person or a voicemail box or a conference or send a fax. You can have unassigned numbers listed here. That just means a number you're not currently using. Then we have the breakdown here for US DID and US toll-free. Yeah, US toll-free is actually US Canada toll-free, right? 800 number, 888 all the way down to 833. USDID just means a US local number. Right? So you can have a number in San Jose, California, or a number, say, in Elmira, New York, or anywhere in between. If you're interested in a international phone number, you're going to want to email our porting team. That's porting at virtualpbx.com, and just indicate the city and country that you want a phone number in, and they'll let you know if there's any additional requirements. Then we got conference bridges. I have enabled 8 users to host or moderate a conference. Over here to the right, we got our main numbers. So these 4 numbers all behave the same way, right? They're all going to go to the same location. They all play the same main greeting. The conference room number, you can have multiple conference room numbers if you want, but basically this is the number everyone dials to get to a conference, whether they're your staff member or a client or a vendor. The fax box number, you can have 1. It enables faxing on the account, and this is your inbound fax number. The company directory, this is downloads a text file that has all your users with their extension numbers. The soft phone directory, this is for use with the VirtualPBX desktop soft phone application. You download this file, you upload it to that application, and then you can see the status of your colleagues who are making use of the VirtualPBX soft phone, right? So green means they're not on a call, red means they're on a call. Store discount code, just for being a Dash customer, you get a discount code for use in store.virtualpbx.com. And then lastly, we have the account realm. This is used in a couple things. One, it's to help program a third-party application. Right? So third-party soft phone, it's one of 3 key pieces of information. It's also used in faxing out. To fax out on Dash, it's an email, right? Create an email. In the to field, you put the plus sign, the number 1, area code and phone number, @ symbol, the account phone. Then you attach it to a PDF. Up here, we have the main company caller ID. You can select any of your main numbers. Then down here, you have the company caller ID name. This allows you to input up to 15 characters, includes spaces and special characters, that will be transmitted when any of your VoIP phone users make an outbound call. Now, once you click Save Changes down here at the bottom, that information gets updated to all the carriers who support CNAME. That is not every carrier that your call can go through. Right? There are several carriers out there who just don't support it for whatever reasons. We can't make them. CNAME can also be impacted by the device that's receiving it. Right? Some phones don't, like if it's going to an old school landline, there may not be a display, so there will be nothing to show up on that phone's display. Right? Cell phone carriers, for example, are very stringent about what shows up on their phone's displays. In some carriers, I know like AT&T in the past, I don't know if it's current, but you could pay an additional like $10 a month to have CNAME show up on your cell phone. Some people want that, other people don't. Obviously, if your cell phone users don't pay for it, when you call that cell phone user, your CNAME information won't be displayed. All right, company emergency information, or E911. This is just an address associated with this phone number, so that way if a VoIP phone user picks up, dials 911, this is the address that is sent to emergency services. Each of your phone numbers can have a different address associated with it, and each of your VoIP phones, you can decide which E911 information is associated with that VoIP phone. And then any changes, you click on Save Changes down here at the bottom. Hold music. On Dash, hold music is defined as after a call has reached a user and they have pressed hold on their VoIP phone. That's when hold music will play. You can upload your own file. Let's find it on your computer. Dash can playback .ogg, .mp3, and .wav files. You want to make sure they're recorded in mono and not in stereo, and that they're under 1 megabyte in size. You click the little up arrow icon here, and then click on Save Changes. And this hold music will be by default for all of your users on your account. All right, ours is part of main number, so let's go over to main number and work our way down. So at the top, we got our main company numbers, right? So these are those 4 numbers that we saw on the dashboard that all behave the same way. If I decide I don't want to use one of these numbers any longer, I can click Unassign next to it. Now that doesn't delete the number from my account. It just simply moves it from being a main number and makes it a spare number. And if I click here and Add from Spares, you'll see it's here available still. Any place you can add a phone number, right? You'll have the option to add from spare numbers if you have any, or you can buy new numbers. For a local number, you need to know the area code that you want to add a number in. So let's say 408, and then you click Search. Now, there's none came up available. Now that could most likely be because it's an exhausted area code, meaning that there's none available. So then you would want to look up what's called an overlay area code. So for 408, that overlay is 669. And you see now I have several to choose from. You click Add. And you see I've added 2 by accident. So I can remove 1. Click By Numbers here at the bottom, and now the system's verifying yes, the number is available, and then moves it to my account and activates it. Now, each of the numbers has this little gear icon, so this is where you can adjust the individual caller ID for each phone number. Right, so you can update this outbound CNAM for every phone number, so you have different CNAM for each of your phone numbers, as well as turning on the ability to accept inbound caller ID name information. Right, here's where you would update the E911 address for this phone number. And then Prepend is a VoIP feature. You can add additional text in front of the caller ID information that shows up on the VoIP phone's display. Basically gives your staff members a heads up about what the call might be about. Next up, we have office hours strategies. For new accounts, you start off at 24-hour open office, right, meaning your system's ready to take calls. Or you can choose to go to custom office hours. If you do that, if you go down under the custom office hours, for each day of the week that you're open, put a check mark in front of it, and then set your open hours in these boxes here to the right in 24-hour or military time. And then you would click on Save Changes at the bottom. Office holidays. If you're closed for holidays, put a check mark in front of it. And then over here to the right, we've got Add Holidays. If you click on that, you have the options for single day, date range, or advanced. Right. So single day, kind of like right here, 4th of July observed. You give it a name. Helps if you don't have a typo in it. And then you select the month and the date. Right. Date range, like what we have down here for Christmas time. Right. Starts December 24th and December 25th. Notice that there's no year indicator, so you do not want a date range that includes New Year's Eve and New Year's Day. And then for the advanced option, that's this retreat entry here, where I just said, hey, first Friday in July, we're closed, right? So this middle pull down, 1st through 5th and last are your options, and then you just pick the day of the week and the month. And then any changes you make, you just click on Save Changes. Next up, we have incoming call handling. So this is for your main numbers during my open hours. Right, you have my after hours here, outside my holidays. Right, under incoming or office hour strategy, you also have the option to be closed for lunch. So if you chose that, you'd also have a lunch tab. Right, these have the same basic options though. Right, call, come in, go to the virtual receptionist. Call, come in, and offer to a user, then the receptionist. Call comes into a user, and then voicemail. and then the advanced call flows. So the first one here, call comes in, goes to the virtual receptionist. That's a link, which will open up a new window. So on the left, your main menu. This is what people press on their phone to navigate through your phone system. You click on Add Route down here to give another menu option. Right. You have default 0 through 9 as well as the star key. And then up here, you choose where it goes, right? Smart PBX directory, dial by name directory, right? Then you can choose it, or you can have it go to a user, you can have it go to a device, you can have it go to a call queue. Call queues are extra, just be aware of that. You can send it to a specific device, right? So you can have it sent to a specific phone. You can have it go to a media file. And finally, you can have it go to a voicemail box. Over here on the right, we have greetings. We've got text-to-speech. You simply type in a greeting, you click update, save, and save changes. This is the computerized voice, right, robotic sounding voice. You have up to about 250 characters, give or take, to add it. Not words, 250 characters. So it's not unlimited. I usually recommend that for people who are just getting started, right? Whether it's a startup company or they've never used a PBX system before, it's just a way to get your feet wet. Just bear in mind, every time you click update and save on the text-to-speech, it uses the same file name for each text-to-speech greeting, right? So if I just type in a few words, I hit update and save, and then tomorrow I'm like, oh wait, that doesn't quite work, and I just edit the existing file, right, and add another couple of sentences. I click update and save. I'm going to have two files that will say main open hours menu TTS. So what I recommend, whenever you make a text-to-speech greeting, go to your greetings tab, find that file that says main open hours menu TTS, in this case, because we're in that menu, and change it to something you'll recognize. Even if it's just saying, hey, this is greeting and the date, right? That way you know, okay, this is the one I want to use. You can upload your own file. .wav, .mp3, .ogg, recorded in mono under 1 megabyte. Just find the file, and then click update, and then save and save changes. You can choose from existing recordings. This is every media file you've already added to the account, whether it's a text-to-speech greeting, a voicemail greeting, hold music, or whatever. They'll all show up in this pull down. You can record a greeting over the phone. Now, by default, the system wants you to record a greeting over a VoIP phone on the account. If you don't want to do that, just make sure down here under settings, it says allow outside recording, make sure that's turned on. If you turn that on, then you can call in with a cell phone or a landline, etc. All right, so then you have these instructions, right? So pick up the VoIP phone on the account, or if you allow outside recording, cell phone, dial your main number, and then enter this PIN number. Then the system will walk you through recording a greeting over the phone. And the first time you do this, right, you don't have a greeting in place. When you dial your main number, you'll get a message saying, no greeting has been recorded for this menu. That's when you would enter the PIN number. If you already have a greeting in place, when you hear your greeting play, just enter that PIN number, and the system will then take you into how to record a greeting over the phone. In that second scenario there, when you record over the phone, the system just overwrites the existing file that's already playing, right? So you called in, you heard greeting A play, and now you're recording a new greeting after entering the PIN number. Like greeting file A, the name stays the same, but you just change the content of it. So just bear that in mind. You have professional recording services. So we've partnered with another company called Snap Recordings. When you click on order down here, it will take you to their site. They have like 100 voice actors and actresses to choose from, different versions of English, French, and Spanish. They have their own billing, their own packages. They deliver to you via email, so then you can just upload your own file. All right, settings. So first one here, number of retries on missed dial. This is basically how many times can your inbound caller make a mistake. right? So in this case, we have it set to 1. So caller comes in, they hear my greeting, and they press 7, which is not a valid option. That's their mistake, right? The system will play the will tell them invalid entry, will play the greeting again, and then if they don't press it, if they press something wrong again, if I have a default route, like I do right here, right, then the system will send them to that. So in this case, they would say they hit 7 again, and they get sent to the Smart PBX directory. Now, if I remove this default route and they on the second attempt they hit 7 again, the system will tell them it was an invalid entry, or they actually did not recognize your entries, and will end the call. And the reason you would want to do that is to prevent robodialers from getting through into your system. Right? Someone having to press a menu option, that means that's a person there trying to call and trying to get through to you. That's probably the people you want to, the calls you want to be taking. Dialing timeout, this is how much time the system waits after it hears a button press before it assumes the inbound caller is done. Right? So that person calls in, they press 7, the system waits to a count of 10, it says, oh, you're done, that's not a valid entry. I usually recommend putting this at like 2 or 3. Right? Allow outside recordings, we already covered. So then allow dialing extensions. If you have this off, that means when people dial into your system here, they can only press these menu options. They can try to enter an extension number, the system is going to ignore it. Right? If you turn it on, now if they know the person's extension number, the system will accept it. That plays into this dialing timeout, right? Because if they have to look up the extension and you have it set to like 2, that might not be enough time for them to enter the full extension number, depending on how organized they are. And then here we have the suppressed playing of invalid entry. So if you don't want the system to tell your inbound caller, oh, you made a mistake, you would turn this on. Now, any changes you make to the main menu, the greetings, or the settings, you need to click Save here. And then when you come back to incoming call handling, you need to click Save Changes here. So you're clicking Save twice. The second option here, call, this is your live operator answer option, right? So call is being offered to Aaron. I can send it to any user, right? I can send it to one of my call queues. I can send it to one of my groups. I can send it to a specific device, right? A specific phone. I can send it to a media file. I don't recommend the media file just because you might confuse your callers, as they'll basically hear 2 greeting files play, right? The first one here, and then when they get to the virtual receptionist. So if I scroll back down and I can send it to my receptionist ring group. So now I can be offering it to like 5 people at the same time. The system will offer that call to this group for 20 seconds. If no one is able to answer the call, then the caller goes to the virtual receptionist. We're still in our open hours, so it's those same menu options that we were just looking at. Right? They'll hear a greeting, they'll have those menu options, or they can enter the extension number. Third option here, again, you can offer it to users, groups, queues, device, media file. You have one additional option right down here, which is skip to voicemail. So then call comes in, I'm sending it right to this voicemail box. So this is for, very small business, right? 1-person show, maybe a 2-person show. I have seen this mostly under holidays for that very small business, right? It's like, hey, we're closed for Christmas, or for New Year's, etc. This last option here is to advance call flows. Typically, this is going to a secondary attendant. If you don't have a secondary attendants, it won't show up as an option. And that's for most of our customers. The main conference number. So in order to enable the conference bridge feature on a user, you first need to have a conference room number. Right? So you can add from spare, buy new. You have the option here to enter a custom text-to-speech greeting. Right? You just click enable, and then you type in what you want to say. Even if I left this at disabled, whenever you call this conference number, the system has a default message play. It says, welcome to the conference. Please enter the conference room number. and then it'll prompt you for the PIN number. The main fax box number, you can have just one on the account. Right? So if I didn't have one here, I would have add for spare or buy new. The edit fax box, unfortunately on this account it's broken because it's a test account. But on your accounts, when you click edit fax box, it'll pop open a window. It will have two fields. The first field is for the inbound notification, right? So whoever you want notified when a fax comes in, the system sends an email to that person because you put in their email address. It will include the attachment, a PDF attachment, if a fax actually came through. And I say it like that because if someone dials your main fax box number, hears those fax tones and hangs up, that inbound notification email address gets an email saying there was a failed inbound fax attempt. Now the second field is for your outbound permissions. You can put just a single email address there, but if you own your own company domain, right? So you own at abccleaners.com. You can put that domain in that second field, and then all of your staff members can send a fax out, even if they're not a user on Dash, right? As long as they're using that company email address. All right, auto attendance. This is a plan-specific feature, right? So it's available on some plans, but not all. This allows you to create secondary attendance. There's a couple use cases for that. The first, and it's the most common that we run into, is people who have multiple small businesses, right? And these businesses have their own phone numbers, their own main greetings, but the calls are answered by the same staff people, right? So you can have 3 small businesses, each with their own main phone numbers, their own main greetings, but the calls are still being handled by the same people. The other use case that comes up is what's referred to as submenuing, right? And that is like someone calls into your main number and you're giving them the option to press 1 for English and 2 for Spanish. When they press one of those options, right, they get sent to a secondary menu, right, a submenu. A new greeting plays, right? So like the Spanish option would play a greeting in Spanish, and then the menu options would go to your Spanish-speaking staff members. So you get started by clicking Add Attendant here at the top. You give it a name and an extension number, and then you click on Create Attendant. Once an attendant is created, you can click on the name, and then you have this option here, Available in Main Menu. The default is actually the opposite, Unavailable in Main Menu. Right? So it starts off like this. When it's unavailable in Main Menu, that means it's a standalone attendant, meaning it's for one of your separate businesses. Right? If I put Available in Main Menu, when I click there, that means it's a submenu option. Right? 1 for Spanish, 1 for English, 2 for Spanish. And when you make it available in main menu, that means it's available in any of your auto attendants. Right? If you make any changes, click on Save Changes. Right? Attendants can have their own phone numbers because that's part of the point. Buy new or add from spare. You have the little gear icon here too, so you can update the caller ID and E911, etc. The extension box, if you click on that, you can add additional extensions or unassign an existing extension. And the extension numbers is typically for in-house use, right? If someone calls the wrong business, and that no, I meant to talk to the dog walking business, your staff member go, hold on, let me just transfer you over to them. Right? You can then send it to the attendance extension, so then that caller hears the dog walking business's main greeting and the menu options there. Little wrench icon here under settings. You see here we have open hours, after hours, and holidays. This will match what we already set up under the main number. And then for your secondary tenants, they only have the option for sending calls to the virtual receptionist. But you can make each one of them different, right? So different greetings, different menu options, etc. All right, devices shows all the devices on your account. Green device means it's connected, right? It's registered. Red means it's unregistered, so we can't send calls to it. Black means you've turned it off. Up here at the top, you click on Add Device. First up is SIP phone, right? That's that physical VoIP phone, actual hardware. And then you have these manufacturers to choose from. When you click on a manufacturer, you'll see a list of models available. Some, like Yealink here, have a lot. Others don't have quite so many. Right, so you just go through, find the manufacturer of your phone, and then select the model. Then you just give it the phone a name, right? So Bob's phone. And then you need the MAC address. The MAC address is unique to each phone. Often a sticker on the back of the phone, or if you click under menu status on the phone, it's powered up. One of the basic settings is the MAC address. You enter that here. You click on Create Device. The only other thing you have to do for this device is assign it to a user, which we'll get to under the user page. And then in terms of for the dashboard here, you're done. However, you need to get into that phone's web user interface and input a URL under the auto provisioning section. For the specifics, go to the dash support pages. On the right-hand side, about a third of the way down, you're looking for a document called Auto Provisioning Phones. It's going to have screenshots for each of those manufacturers that showed up under that list, as well as the proper syntax for that URL. And usually there's some settings they want you to verify are set this correct way. And basically, when you click Save and then tell the phone to auto provision, it's basically, hey, go out to the URL, get your config file. The phone's going to reboot a couple times. Once it's done rebooting, say two to three times, then it should show up as a green device on your account here. Right, cell phone and landline are identical, basically, just a different label. You give it a name, and then you put +1 area code and phone number. Right, you need that +1, and then you click on Create Device. Now, on here, this is a default phone. It should be anyway. Let's go to Advanced under Options. Okay. If I save it like this, this is the default setup for a cell phone or a landline. So call comes in, gets sent out to your cell phone. Right? Your cell phone rings. When you click Answer, you're going to hear a message, this is a forwarded call, please press 1. When you press 1, you tell the system yes, you're there, and yes, you want to take this call. And then it connects the call to you. Now, if, for instance, you're using the cell phone label here, but you're actually sending calls to an automated answering service to answer your calls after hours, right? That automated answering service doesn't know when to press 1, right? Because it's a computer. It doesn't know what to listen for. It's just trying to answer the call. So what you would want to do is under these advanced options is this first one here, allow use of cell phone's voicemail. Put a check mark there, click on Save Changes. So now when we send calls to that automated answering service, we hear that pickup tone, and we connect the call. Right? We don't wait for anyone to press 1, which is great for an automated answering service. If this is your actual cell phone, if your cell phone voicemail picks up, right, that's still a call being connected. So we hear that tone, we connect the call, so the inbound caller can end up on your personal cell phone's voicemail. Some people definitely want that, other people do not. So that's personal preference. The other feature that comes up here is this one here, keep original caller ID. So by default, that's enabled, which means a call comes in through your system, gets sent out to you, right? Say customer Mary is calling you. Your cell phone rings, you look at it, you're like, I don't recognize that number. I am tired of hearing about my auto warranty. So you let it go to voicemail. Maybe you're able to reconnect with Mary later, maybe you're not. If you uncheck this, right, keep original caller ID, and click Save Changes, instead of seeing customer Mary's phone number show up on your phone, you're going to see your main phone number show up on your phone. Right? So it's a way for you to know, oh, this is a work call. And if we go back to the dashboard here, what I mean by the main number, right, it's this one here that we set up under the main company caller ID. Whichever number from this pull down that you've selected, that's the number that would show up on your cell phone in that instance. All right, soft phone, this on the devices page, when you add soft phone, it's only allowing you to create a third-party soft phone. Right, so you give it a name, you want to copy and paste the SIP username. If If you click on the SIP password box, it will reveal the SIP password, so you want to copy and paste that. And then you have the realm, which you would also want to copy and paste. Those are the 3 key pieces of information that you would need to program that third-party softphone application or VoIP device. All right, the greetings manager, it shows all the greetings on the account. Upload means you uploaded the file. Right? TTS, text-to-speech. Recording means you recorded over the phone. You can add greeting files up here at the top. Just give it a name, find the file, click create greeting. This means you're uploading a .wav, .mp3, .ogg file. Again, under 1 megabyte, recorded in mono. You can download any of these files. Right, click on the little download icon here, so that way you can listen to it and see if it's still relevant, whether it's for a main greeting, a voicemail greeting, etc. You got the little wrench icon here, so you can change the name of a file to be something that you'll remember, or you can simply remove it. Right, groups is referred to as ring groups or hunt groups. Right, basically, it's a department. You click Add Group up here at the top. You give it a name and an extension number, and then you click and drag your staff members that you want to be in this group, and then you would click on Create Group. Once a group is created, you can click on its name. Right, you can always change the name, and then you have this group dialing attempts. This is how many times the inbound caller will be offered to your staff members in the group. In this little box here, got little arrows on the far right, you can increase or decrease the number of attempts. And then you would click on Save Changes. When you click on the members box here, this shows all your staff members in the group and the order that you're having the calls being rung. These are sliders, so you can do something like this. I'm going to create what's called blast ringing or ring all. Right, so basically when a call comes into this group, what I'm doing right here is I'm saying all my staff members, all of their phones will ring until one of them pick up. A couple things to keep in mind about groups. Your staff members, they can answer calls on a cell phone, landline, or a VoIP device. Groups, doesn't matter. However, when they get a call from a group, all of their devices will ring. Right? So say Michael there at the number 1 position there, let's say he's got 4 different devices on his user. Call comes in from this group, all 4 of his phones will ring until he answers or one of his coworkers answers. Right. There's a user feature called Use Follow Me Calling. Calls from groups or from queues ignore the Follow Me Calling settings. So that's one thing to keep in mind. Now, the other thing is, say, first call comes in, let's say Michael picks up, he's helping the customer. The second call comes into this group, while Michael's on that call, he's going to hear a call waiting beep until one of the other staff members picks up. Now, along the top here, we have timestamps. Right, this last one is at 2:40. But the default for a new group is 120, right, 2 minutes. You can obviously adjust that. And that's how much the total time that the inbound callers offer to all your staff members. Now, I can click distribute here, right, this big button. Now, I've equalized the ring time for all of my staff members, and it's only going to ring in this order, right? So it's always going to start with Michael, right? Which means if he's on a call and another call comes in, he's hearing that call waiting beep for 40 seconds until the call rolls to the next person. Now, let's say Michael has a special project going on that I need him to focus on, right? But he's still as a member of this group. I can click on his name, and I can drag him down here to the bottom. Now, I have not yet adjusted the ring order, right? He's still first, just based on the timing. Now, so I want to put Aaron at the top because he's been killing it lately. And then I go ahead and click on distribute. So now I've changed the ring order, right? Now Aaron's first, Michael's last. And again, these are sliders, so you can adjust that. And if you make any changes, just click on Save Changes. Now, you have the option to remove members, right? So like if they're no longer part of this group or they left the company, you can remove them. Down here at the bottom left, you can add users. Just click on the box in front of their name, and then you can click select, and now they're added, and then I can click distribute again. All right, groups can have extensions. They can have multiple ones, or you can change it by unassigning and assigning a new one. Groups can have their own phone number. You can add from spare or buy new numbers. One thing to know about phone numbers on a group or on a user specifically is that the phone number, all right, so this phone number, the 702 number, this works 24/7. It's not going to follow my hours of operation. Right, so if my group members have their personal cell phone here, they can get calls like at 2 in the morning. Then we got group features. First up is ringback. If you click enable, you can upload a .wav, .mp3, file, recorded in mono, under 1 megabyte. This file it replaces the ringing sound, right? So by default, calls come into the group. Your inbound caller hears the sound of, for call being rung, that ringtone sound. Now, if I don't want that to happen, right, I enable this feature and I upload my own file. So it replaces that sound of ringing. But keep in mind, though, is if for some reason we don't get that ringing sound, right, coming from my staff members' phones, then nothing plays. It's just silence until either a staff member picks up or it rolls to the next user whose phone actually does give that ring sound notification. Next action, probably one of the most important features, is when you enable it, it's right here. What do you want to do if no one picks up? Got to pull down here. Right, you can send them back to your virtual receptionist, right, the main menu. You can send it to one of your other attendants. You can send it to a call queue, device, user, another group, or a voicemail box. And then you'll click on Save Changes. Allow call forward. Basically, if you turn this on, you're allowing your users to make use of call forwarding, i.e. they're not going to be at their normal desk phone. They want to forward calls to their cell phone. Caller ID Prepend. If you enable this, again, this is for your VoIP phone users. You can put either additional text or numbers in front of the caller ID that shows up on their VoIP phone's display. Again, give them a heads up about what the call might be about. Numbers, these are all the numbers on your account and where they're going. You also have your spare numbers here. And under spare numbers, you can buy additional numbers, right, local or toll-free. And then we just add them as an additional spare number. If you want to get rid of a phone number, right, you just click on the box in front of a number under the spare number tab, and then you have this option to delete. Confirm the deletion. Says yes, you successfully completed. You click on continue, and now I have one less phone number on my account. So I saved a little money on my bill. You have this option here for port. So what porting is moving a phone number from one carrier to another. All right, so let's say from AT&T to VirtualPBX. You just click new port request. You give it a name. Say if it's local or toll free. You click next. Now it wants you to upload a copy of your bill in a PDF format. Then it's going to ask for your address that should typically matches what's on that bill. Then ask for the phone numbers that you're going to port. Then it allows you to download a blank letter of agency or LOA, and then to upload a completed and signed LOA. And then there's 4 check boxes you need to check, and then you click submit. Now, if you submit properly, you'll get an email right away from the automated system saying, yes, you submitted. By the next business day, you should get a second email from our porting team that they actually did receive the documents and they verified them. If there's any immediate problem that they see, they will let you know. Like, let's say the LOA wasn't signed. But other than that, they will then submit the port request, and then we wait from the other carrier to get a response. Now, for the letter of agency, it's going to ask you for like your company information, right? Your company name and the address. that information on the LOA should match what your current carrier has on file for that phone number. Right? Probably what matches with your bill, typically, not always. It does need to be signed, right? That can be, you printed it out, signed it, and then scanned it back in, or you've got a digital signature file that you can just put on the PDF. Either way will work. Typically speaking, toll-free numbers port in about 3 to 5 business days, assuming everything is correct. Local numbers can be as short as 1 business day if everything's correct. The typical, though, is about 2 to 3 weeks. When we get a rejection from the other carriers, we don't always get very specific information. Like, they will tell us address mismatch. If we're lucky, they'll tell us that the street number is wrong or the zip code is wrong. But usually we just get address mismatch. Right? And we pass that on to you so you know, and then you would have to talk to the current carrier to find out what the address is supposed to be. Oh, if for some reason the submission through the dashboard here did not go through for whatever reasons, you can also just email those documents, right, the copy of your bill and your LOA, to porting@virtualpbx.com. All right, Users tab shows all your users on the account. The little boost suit icon, that is a system admin, right? Gray person icon, standard user. If you click up here at the top, add user, and you just need to fill out the form, right? So first and last name, pretty easy, hopefully. The email address used for login, that needs to be unique for each user, right? So I can't reuse support@virtualpbx.com for 5 different users. I have to have a different email address for each one of them in order for them to log in. Then I create a password for them, and then I create an extension number for them. The system, I started this account with extension 1000, right? So the system's saying the next one available in that series is 1021. I don't have to follow that, right? I can exit, delete those out, and you make it, 7210 instead. All right. By default, when you create a new user, the system will create a voicemail box for them and enable the voicemail box feature for that user. Then we've got include in the company directory. Right? You put a check mark here, they'll be in the Smart PBX directory. You can always change your mind later. Then we've got send emails to an alternate address. So by default, if the system needs to send an email to a user, it uses the email address used for login, right? So voicemails will get sent to the email address used for login. Same with the password recovery. If for some reason that's not what you want, then you would click here on this box and enter in a different email address. You can always change this later. Right, so like initially it's fine, or then you're like, oh, user Bob wants it to go stuff to show up at his personal email versus his work email. And then the last one here, send credentials to the user. I think that's pretty important. If you only need to create the one user, you just click on create user. If you need to add additional people, create user and add another. Once a user is created, you can click on their name. You can change their name. You can change their credentials, and this is for someone other than yourself. Right, so then you can change the email address and their password. You also have the option here to send them the password reset email. Change PIN, the voicemail box PIN number, and minimum 4 digits. If your users are going to be predominantly using VoIP phones, you don't need to worry about their voicemail box PIN number. By default, if they pick up their VoIP phone, hit *98 on the VoIP phone, that logs them into their voicemail box, right? The one that you created when the user was created. The system will prompt them to create a PIN number and then prompt them to record their voicemail greeting. For your cell phone and landline users, you do need to create a PIN number for their voicemail box as well. Right, here's that option to send to an alternate address. And then here's the option to be in the user directory. On the right, this pull down allows you to make an admin into a user or a user into an admin. Next up, we've got the time zone for the user. So that is important for people who are working remotely. So that way, say their voicemail timestamps are correct for their time zone. you have the default display language. This is for your dash pages, right? So if a user is more comfortable reading in German, you can choose to have German be their display language. It's English, French, German, and Russian are the current options. Ringing timeout. This is how much time by default we're going to send calls to a user's devices. 20 seconds, typically plenty of time to say call to a landline or a VoIP phone. If a user is only going to be using a cell phone, you want to bump that up to 45 seconds, if not a minute. Right? It simply takes longer to route a call to a cell phone than it does to say a landline. Right? Cell phone companies have to find you every time a call comes to you. Right. Users can have multiple extensions if you want them to. Likewise, they can have their own phone numbers. You can also, I don't have any spare numbers anymore because I deleted that one, so I can only buy it from a new number. Under, oops, here. So under users, you can add devices, right? So I can add from spare devices, right? Device that's not currently being used. I can add new. I add the same options as before, right? So phone, cell phone, soft phone. You get the little warning message for soft phones, which you should read. But you notice here, right? I started off again as a third-party soft phone, but I have a little toggle switch down here. It might be a little hard to see because I have a little remnant here. But if you click where it says use third-party application, it flips it to say use VirtualPBX application. And then I just give it a name. I click on create device, and then I click on save changes. When I click on save changes, this user Jade here is going to get an email with his VirtualPBX soft phone application username and password, as well as download links so that he can use his app, whether on his phone or on his computer. The other thing, I find it easier to add the web phone directly to a user because the web phone, it does have a login at webphone.virtualpbx.net. It uses your same dash user login, right? So give it a name, create device, save changes. Then Jade can go to webphone.virtualpbx.net on Chrome or Firefox, and then just use his normal dash login, right? His email address, his password, the account name, and then he's logged in, he can make and receive calls. Right. User features. Let's go up here. Caller ID number. This only applies for a user that has their own phone number. So like Aaron up here, he has it enabled. What this does is that means when he makes outbound calls, he's using his own phone number as his outbound caller ID. Right? For my users without their own phone number, their outbound caller ID is that main company number that we had up under the dashboard. Call forwarding, if I enable this. Right, so you've got off, on, and failover mode. Now, call forwarding, your users can turn on themselves or turn it off. Right? They can do that via the user portal. But if you turn it on, you select desk phone or mobile, you put +1 area code and phone number, and then you click Save Changes. This forwarding device should not be a device already on the user. Right? The device is on the user, that's what they use every day. Right? Forwarding is they're using under special circumstances. Failover mode is for your VoIP phone users. Right? So when the system detects that a phone is not registered, call comes into Brandon here, will automatically forward to whatever phone number I put here. Hot desking is a VoIP feature. You create a hot desk ID. So if you, for instance, if you use 4-digit extensions, I just say, hey, make their hot desk ID their extension number. It's the easiest way to do it. This is for a shared office environment or like a hybrid working environment where companies are reducing the number of desks and phones, for example. So I can come into the office, sit down at desk 7, pick up the VoIP phone there, hit *11, that turns on hot desking. will ask me for my hot desk ID. If my admin also requires a PIN number, it will ask me for the PIN number. And then for the rest of the day, right, the system will tell me calls will be sent to this device. So the rest of my workday, any call that comes to me, whether it's from a group or a queue or whatever, it's going to ring at the phone I'm sitting at. Right? End of my workday, I pick up the phone, I hit *12 to turn off hot desking. Next time I come in the office, let's say that's Thursday, come in, someone's already sitting at desk number 7. I'm like, whatever, no big deal. Desk number 22, I'll sit here today. Same thing, pick up the phone, hit *11, enter my hot desk ID, PIN number required, and now calls are coming to me at that phone. All right, voicemail box, right, was enabled when the user was created. Now, transcription is a plan-specific feature. Basically, the system listens to the voicemail and types it out in the email notification for you. But if I have it set like this, this is default voicemail. So basically, voicemail or email, and what that means is I'm attaching a voicemail of the .mp3 file to the email notification. Right? So call comes into Brandon here. He wasn't able to answer. It gets to his voicemail. He gets an email message saying, yes, you got a voicemail, the date, the time, the phone numbers, and then he has an MP3 file that he can double click and listen to. Now, voicemail boxes can only hold up to 100 messages. So you may want to consider putting a check mark here to delete the messages once they've been sent. Because most people have plenty of storage on their computers. A savvy person would probably put their voicemails in a separate folder if they need to hold on to them for a long duration. Fax box. Each user can have their own fax box if you want them to. Right, so this would be on top of the main fax box. And then you have the option here, you can add a number or use an extension. If you use an extension, this means that user can only receive faxes, right? Only get inbound faxes. They're not going to be able to fax out. And that is because once you enable a fax box on the user, when they try to send a fax out, the system will check their user. Say, oh, they have a fax box. I'm going to use whatever phone number or extension is assigned to it as their outbound caller ID. So if you only have an extension, it's not valid outbound caller ID, the fax will fail. So if you want a user to have their own fax box, I do strongly encourage making use of a separate phone number. That way they can fax out as well. Conference bridge. All right, you click enable, and as an admin, the only thing you need to do is create a PIN number here. Your users will be able to change this PIN number via the user portal. All right, follow me is for users with multiple devices. This is the default layout here. Basically, the system wants to know which phone or phones you want to use. You just uncheck the phones you want to use. Along the top, you got the timestamps. Right, the default's 120 seconds, and then you can click distribute. Likewise, you can click and drag, distribute again to change the order. So just like ring groups. And then you would click Save Changes. Music on hold. You can have users have their own hold music. You would just click enable, upload.ogg.mp3.wave, recorded in mono under 1 megabyte. This will supersede the hold music we uploaded on the dashboard page. Customize call recording. By default, it looks like this. All right, so again, the system's waiting for you to let them know what kind of calls you want to record. Inbound internal, right? Coworker Bob called. Inbound external, customer Mary called in. Outbound internal means I called coworker Bob. Outbound external means I called customer Mary. And then you click on Save Changes. And then lastly, do not disturb. If you enable that, it means calls will go to voicemail for this user. Voicemail boxes. So here you see user voicemail boxes have their name in the user column here. The ones that don't are either manually created, like this Labor Day box, or the main voicemail box. This one is created automatically by the system. Up here at the top, you can click Add Voicemail Box. You give it a name, a voicemail box number, and a PIN number, and then you click on Create a Voicemail Box. You can click on the wrench icon here, so you can always view a voicemail box's PIN number and voicemail box number. All right, so then you can record greetings for that over the phone. Under Advanced, greeting media, so you can upload a file, right? .wav, .mp3, .ogg. The media file, this is the default file for a voicemail box, right? The normal day-to-day one. The temporary, this is for the out of office or vacation voicemail. So if you have something here selected in this field here, it will always play, right? When you put this to none, then the media file will play. And for a manually created voicemail box, you do want to make sure you get a greeting in place at some point. Then you've got recipients. For your user voicemail boxes, you already have a recipient in place, so you don't have to worry about that. But for the ones you create manually, you would just click on Add New Recipient, and then you put the email address here. If you need to add more people, you would keep clicking Add for each individual that you're adding, and then you click on Save Changes. And then we've got advanced options. So once a voicemail box has a greeting and recipients, right, you can just click on Already Set Up. That means that's good to go. And then you have here, do you want to attach the voicemail message to an email? And then do you want to delete after notification? And then you would click on Save Changes. Advanced routing. This is for the feature Direct Inward System Access, or DISA. And what that is allows a cell phone or landline user to call into your main number, and then they can log in over the phone. That allows them to then make an outbound call. When they make that outbound call, it won't be their cell phone number that shows up as the outbound caller ID, but your main company number. So you would go up here, you click Enable, and then you click Edit Settings. Now the system automatically generates this PIN number for you. Right, you can change that when you click Edit Settings. If you leave it just like that with just a PIN number, then you need to create a menu option under your virtual receptionist. Right, you don't have to make it a part of your greeting because this should only be something your staff members use. You can also choose to add an extension number, and then you would click on Save Changes. So now, if you with an extension number, right, your staff members can call in, right, to one of your numbers that rings to your virtual receptionist. They can enter the extension number, and then they'll enter the PIN number. Right? The system will prompt them for the PIN number. They'll hear dial tone. They just enter area code and phone number of the person they want to dial out to. Now, this feature is not automatically enabled on new accounts, because it's possible someone could figure out your PIN number and extension number for DISA and make outbound calls on your account without you noticing or knowing about it right away, like most likely when your next bill shows up. So if this is something you want, you need to contact or actually email our account services or support team and request that DISA be enabled. Next up, we have the call logs. Call logs show your call activity on your account. The green arrow to the right means it's an inbound call. The yellow arrow to the left means it's an outbound call. If you click on a call, you can see additional details. So you can see that I went to this number and went to this particular device. You got the little fire hydrant icon here. This creates an email. that goes to our support team. You do want to type in the body of the email about what happened, right? Like you had a one-way audio issue, or your phone didn't actually ring, that sort of thing. You can do a custom date range and download the file. You can go back up to 1 year. Right? So if your account is a year old, you can go back up to 1 full year and download the call logs. Further than that, our engineers can go back up to 18 months, so 6 more months. Beyond that, unfortunately, they can't get anything. So what if you need to have your call log data like long term? You probably want to do it every month, so that way each month you can just download the file and save it with the month and the year. Feature codes, I've already talked about a couple of these. These are also available on the support site, right? So virtualpbx.com, go to support. There's a feature code doc. There's also a phone commands cheat sheet, which is a single page PDF. It has a short description of what each of these does. I'm going to go over to the user portal here, just because we've had some technical issues today. For things like the ACD queues, dynamic caller ID, please refer to our previous streams where I went into them in more detail. Okay, so your user portal, each user has their own individual user portal. As an admin, you can't get to someone else's user portal. However, you have access to all of this information. So voicemails would show any voicemails on a user. Now, if you have delete after notification enabled, there won't be anything here. Call history, you can see the user can see their own call history, both inbound and outbound. Now, additionally, they can see their own fax history. They can adjust the date range. The contact list, this is everything within the Dash account. Right? So they can see other users' extensions, the group's extensions, etc. This is not something your standard users can add to, right? So like your salespeople would not be able to add their contact list here, or their client list. The conference tab, this over here, if you go to the right, this is where your staff members can adjust their PIN numbers for them to moderate and as well as for their participants. And they have the options here for, do people join muted, do people join deafened, as well as are you playing entry or exit tones. Up here on the top left, right, the little plus icon, you can add or you can invite other Dash users to your conference. You can lock a conference so other people can't join in. You can mute everybody. You can unmute everybody. You can end the conference. When you're actually within a conference, like on a participant, you can mute a specific person as well as kick them. Right, kick them out of the conference. And then settings and devices. This is where your users would set up their own call forwarding. Just put a check mark, +1 area code and phone number, and then click save. And then they can see the status of their devices. And that is that for the user portal. Again, I apologize for the technical issues earlier on. If you made this far, I thank you for your time. Again, for those other features under the hamburger icon here, please look at one of our previous trainings. We've already gone on quite a bit here. We'll be back next Tuesday, hopefully without the technical issues, at 10 a.m. Pacific. Thank you for your time today and have a wonderful day.